Today's guest traded a career in affordable housing for a mission rooted in her own postpartum experience and cultural heritage. After becoming a mother, she rediscovered the traditional Indian practice of infant massage, and what started as a personal healing tool quickly became her life's work. She had no idea that the very night she completed her training, her daughter would wake up screaming in pain, and what happened next changed everything. She's here to share how a simple, ancient practice can dramatically improve sleep, digestion, and bonding in newborns, and why it might just be the most powerful tool parents aren't using. I'm pregnancy focused chiropractor Dr. Elliot Berlin, and you're listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. Khyati Desai-Seltzer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Berlin. It's great to be here.
It's an honor to have you, and I'm very excited to learn from you. Let's jump in at the beginning. Where are you from originally, and what do you do for work now?
Yeah, so I'm originally from India, from the northwestern state of Gujarat, where baby massage has been practiced for thousands of years. And what do I do now? I have two businesses. One is to support postpartum mamas through baby massage and belly binding. And in my second business, I am consulting with affordable housing organizations and how to engage residents in a meaningful, authentic way.
Wow, I wish you were doing something more meaningful.
I try.
Okay. Wow, those are both really important things. So let's start in the beginning. You were born in India, but raised in the US?
Correct. Yes, we came here when I was about 2, so I've spent my entire life here, but I'm very
Welcome.
well connected and rooted to my Indian identity.
Welcome to the United States.
Thanks.
And I mean, how did you get into, because I mean, the housing would be a career that's very fulfilling in itself. How did you get into infant massage?
It's a great question, and I won't lie and say that my parents were happy that I went to college and grad school and then left all of that to do baby massage, which is so common in India, and just we take it for granted. And all babies are massaged regardless of their socioeconomic background. So a lot of times the women who come to the home to massage are not even educated. And so for them, for my parents to have their daughter who they brought to America for opportunity and went to school and grad school, and now she's letting all that go to do baby massage was probably still something that is a sore spot for
Oh,
them.
yeah, a little taking some getting used to for them.
Absolutely. But I have always in the last 20 years of my adult life wanted to be of service to the community. And I did that through nonprofits, different types of nonprofits, from housing and homelessness to domestic violence. And I really found my niche in housing. And then I was really passionate about, instead of serving people and doing to them, that really I wanted to engage them in a meaningful way. And so that really took hold at the organization I was at and became a model. And, we were doing great work. And then it just became so much about, the politics and the bureaucracy and all the administrative stuff that I felt like I was no longer leaving my daughter at the time, who was 2, to do something meaningful, to change my part of the world. Now I was just enwrapped in all this unnecessary stuff that happens in organizations sometimes. So I left because I realized I was a shell of the person I used to be, and I didn't want to be that kind of mother. And so I thought that I was going to find the next nonprofit job after a 3-month hiatus. But what I found was myself reading a magazine article about baby massage. It was in an Indian magazine. And so I said, oh, yeah, of course, baby massage. We've done this with my nieces and nephews. My mom came and massaged my baby. It's part of our culture. Like, it's great, but it's a nice thing to do. I wonder if families in America know about it. And so I went to our trusty Google, and sure enough, there was a training coming up. So I took it, mostly out of curiosity, but also thinking, wow, if families in America knew about how amazing this tool was, like how we could transform their health and their happiness. Then I went into the training, and I was among NICU nurses and physical therapists, massage therapists, just really
Oh,
um,
wow.
competent, talented people that were there learning something that I frankly took for granted, that was
Wait till I
culture.
tell your parents who
I
the crowd
know,
was.
it's right. It's such a disappointment. Um, and then I learned about the science behind it, because when something is cultural, you don't really know the why behind it. You just know that you do it. And so I became even more sort of enamored by it. And then, like you said, on day two of the training, as serendipity would have it, my daughter woke up screaming of gas pains. And just that day, I learned the gas colic routine. And so I thought in that moment, do I do this? What if it doesn't work? What if I look stupid? You know, all the things that run through our minds when we doubt ourselves. But my husband said, well, it can't hurt. And so I did the routine in less than 5 minutes, Dr. Berlin. She had an explosive diaper. So much so, like, it was too much to get wiped. So we just jumped in the shower and got cleaned up. And then it came back out. She had another diaper. We got back into the shower, came back out. She had another diaper, which we were able to contain with wipes. But like the massage routine that took less than 5 minutes literally cleaned her out, and she slept beautifully the rest of the night. And so it was in that moment that I was looking at my hands and wondering, wow, what did I just do? That I felt a sense of empowerment, but a sense of also like, hey, this is not just something nice that we do culturally. There's a real art and science to it, and it can really save people a lot of heartache and time and money and doctor's visits if they knew how to do this.
You know, it's really interesting. I got into healthcare after seeing, when I was 7 years old, after seeing a CPR class where in New York City, we walked into a building in the lobby, they were teaching the CPR class, and I was like mortified. I was like, what are they doing to that poor woman with no arms and no legs? And when they taught me, when they told me you could use your body
Yeah,
to be literally somebody else's heart and lungs for a little while until they can get advanced medical care. And that's something you could teach to a 7-year-old kid.
that's
Like,
amazing.
it's very powerful. You could do. And the way you talk, I mean, I use my hands all day, every day, and try to
Right.
heal people and try to have a positive effect on people. And
Absolutely.
I am amazed sometimes and just grateful for the gift.
Yeah,
But this is something that every parent can do in
right.
such a powerful way for their own children. We're going to talk a lot about it in the third segment, but
Mm.
just as a little teaser for people listening who have little kids with colic or gas or difficulty sleeping, can you briefly explain how the infant massage is so helpful?
Yeah, I mean, body work is just amazing. The work that you do, massage, Reiki, all these wonderful things. We in the West, we don't give it the credit that it deserves. I think it's starting to change, but in the Eastern part of the world, massage is seen as a way of staying healthy, preventing disease. And I can talk all day about it, but there are a few ways, right? So one is that you're calming the nervous system. And so we know that there's birth trauma, the postpartum experience, even the in utero experience, all of that affects baby and mama. And if there are things that have made baby anxious or upset, that can disrupt the nervous system. We know that their digestive system is still maturing, but there's also a nervous system component there. When you're massaging baby, not only are you doing the techniques to help move, like if there's a gas colic issue, you're helping move the matter and helping them eliminate, but you're also releasing feel-good hormones and decreasing the stress hormones, right? So now we're increasing oxytocin release, we're decreasing cortisol. And when you're doing that, both mom and baby or partner and baby are benefiting. And so
Yeah.
now you're doing actual strokes to move matter, you're calming the nervous system, you're increasing feel-good hormones, decreasing cortisol. It's sort of like a perfect package of everything you need.
You've already covered the fight or flight response. We're all walking around somewhat with our nervous systems as if we're being chased by a tiger.
That's right.
And it's very depleting for us, and it has very specific effects because when your body does feel like it's in danger, the
Yeah,
steps that it takes are not random. They're very specific. It does certain things to your eyes, to your blood flow, to your digestion. And one of the things it does to your digestion is just shut it off because you don't
right.
need to have good digestion when you're running from a tiger. And
That's right.
so it also affects the reproductive system because you don't need that either when you're running from a tiger. And you see all these symptoms that if you could shift that
Mhm.
thermostat on the autonomic nervous system from I'm in danger to I'm not in danger, or I'm
Yeah,
not in grave danger at least, then the effects that take place are very strong and very visceral. The body does it itself. And one of them is
absolutely.
big on digestion, just that alone. And then the second thing you said is like moving the matter physically through the body. So when we do the digestive massage, not on pregnant people generally, but somebody who struggles sometimes with constipation, and
Mhm.
they'll come into the office and we do a gentle abdominal massage, digestive massage. It's the same thing. I've had people like run
Yeah,
off the table and go right into our bathroom and spend quite some time there and come out and be like, I'm a
amazing.
new person. Yeah.
Right.
And that's what you're essentially doing for your baby at home. Although at this moment, it seems like it would be great if we had a diaper sponsor. Oh, well.
Absolutely.
Um, let's take a little break. But before we do, like I said, we're going to share in our notes because we have so much to learn from you, have so much to teach us. We'll share in our notes where listeners can find you, and we'll talk about it at the end. We'll give them links to your resources. And also, I'm very excited to share that you have a holistic infant mini massage course streaming on Informed Pregnancy Plus, which we're very grateful for and very excited about. And people can check it out, especially if you already subscribed, to get a little taste of the wealth of information that's available. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We are talking to Khyati Desai-Seltzer. All right, so you mentioned you at the point that you started making this change in your career, you had a 2-year-old. How was your journey to motherhood?
Like everyone else is full of unexpected twists and turns, and all the things that you think that you're going to do or not do, you come face to face when you have a baby and you realize how little you knew before you had that baby. So,
Ah,
I've been fortunate in terms of my health and in terms of getting pregnant. With both of my children, I did have a miscarriage between the two, so I had a little bit of a struggle there, but I
I'm
was
sorry.
fortunate to be able to, thank you, to get pregnant with my first daughter relatively easy. And I had a pretty good pregnancy, typical things like heartburn and all the aches and pains. But my daughter had different plans. So I was actually supposed to be birthing with the GW midwives. That was the compromise my husband and I came to. And
Does that
we
mean
were
midwives in a hospital setting?
exactly, yep.
Okay.
And it's a pretty rigorous process to be accepted. They want to make sure that you're in good health, all of those things. But my daughter decided to be a breech baby. And so
Ah,
so we did all the things. I had a great team, but we did chiropractic, we did moxibustion, I did some acupuncture, spinning babies. We even did the ECV, the version technique in the hospital, but she was determined not to move. And so we
boy.
had to
Any ideas why?
I don't think that they knew. She's a stubborn child, so, so
Ah,
we
so that's
and
why.
well, that's why. I don't know that they necessarily were able to tell like the cord length or things like that. To be honest, and this is a whole nother conversation, but I think, our modern day lifestyle of sitting all day at a computer, which is what I was doing at the time, I didn't have enough room for her to move, I'm assuming, just sitting all day. And so there are things that we did culturally and in many cultures that people just moved all day. And so women, I think, were better equipped to labor. Things like squatting, which is done very frequently, even to sweep or mop or to prepare different foods. Like you were always in these like positions that opened your pelvis and things like that, that I think helped you prepare for labor. And so my assumption is that she didn't have enough space. And so we switched from the midwives at GW to the OB, and I had her at 42 weeks. I did have a doula, and the doula, of course, I was devastated, but the doula helped me advocate for a gentle cesarean. And so for those of you who have to have a C-section, like you can make it, not as traumatic. Some 68% of women will report that they have a traumatic birth. And I think part of that is just we don't know what we have choice in, and we assume everything that is given by the provider is what we have to do. And so my doula, something she mentioned, like you can ask them not to tie your hands down, right? And I did, and they said, okay, just don't touch your IVs. So there was something as simple as that, or having a clear drape so we could see the baby come out, or letting the father announce the sex and gender of the baby. So things like that you can advocate for, which made it not as traumatic for me. Of course, I had birth disappointment, but it wasn't trauma.
That's a really interesting way to phrase it, birth disappointment. And I found, because they used to really strap everybody down, both arms, both legs, and I found our patients, like even sometimes just having one arm free made such
Yeah,
a huge difference for
right.
the physical, mental, and spiritual experience.
Yep.
And so
Because
not
I
everybody
how
wants a clear drape, but it's nice to know if you have the option that you
you
can
have the
literally see
option.
the baby emerging from your body.
Yeah. and
Uh,
immediate skin to skin and all those things like that makes a huge difference on your postpartum, right? And sometimes it affects breastfeeding relationship. It has a lot of implications. And so if we can keep it as close to nature intended, the better I think the outcomes for mom and baby. In that moment, the providers are thinking of like a live mom and baby, but that's just like for me is the minimum. That's like the baseline. That shouldn't
of
be the
course.
goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's everybody's on the same page with that goal,
Right,
but
exactly.
there's
Yeah,
so much more to the
absolutely.
experience. I have a question for you before we get to what postpartum was like. I'll jump ahead. So you have another baby, child, I guess.
Yes.
And how was the second experience?
The second experience, so, and I should also note that I had my girls at 35 and 40. So if anybody is concerned about AMA, as one wise OB told me, it's more important how healthy you are than your age. And I have been privileged and fortunate to have a good, team of people to advise me on how to live a healthy life.
We
And
have a
so
fairly awesome episode of our podcast called Pregnancy Over 35.
it,
And it's with Dr. Emiliano Chavira, who says exactly what you just said. Basically, and he's an OBGYN and he's an MFM. He's the high risk guy. He basically said every single person has a clinical health profile, and there are a lot
mm,
of data points in that profile. One of them
yeah,
is your age, it's the one you can't change.
right.
But the more the other data points are near the green zone in
Yeah,
the healthy region, the less that particular data point matters. So if you're a
matters.
healthy weight and you have a healthy blood sugar and you have a healthy blood pressure and all those other things, then age is okay. It's a data point, but it really doesn't
Yeah.
affect your overall picture that much. So
That's a
um,
great point
I love
because
that you
so
brought
many
that up.
people are fearful of having babies that have, and there is a lot of fear mongering, but you can have healthy babies and healthy pregnancies even later in life.
So at 40, you're pregnant again, and you have two
Yes.
choices. You can have a vaginal birth after cesarean or a repeat cesarean. Those are the
Uh-huh.
choices as I know them. What was your choice and how did it go?
So it was not a point of discussion in my home. I had decided to have a home birth and have a
Oh,
VBAC.
okay. They call that
And
H-back
yes,
for
that's right.
some weird reason
HVAC, right?
because the baby doesn't come out of your house.
That's
Um, but anyway, they call it
right.
that.
Yeah. So I think at first it's like an attempted vaginal after cesarean, but it was successful. And it was also January of 2021, so still COVID time. And I really appreciated having a midwife and my same doula be able to come to my house for the visits because I
Oh,
then had
wow.
a 4-year-old. So I never had to leave home. For the gestational diabetes exam, I didn't have to drink that nasty drink again. I could have real food. My midwife gave me
Ooh.
a menu. I ate food. She came back and tested. Everything was fine. I think we only went to the hospital to find out the sex of the baby. But otherwise, it was all at home, which was really great. And it was nice for my daughter to be part of the experience. I was helping her watch birth videos so that when the time came, she wasn't freaked out by what was happening. And so we actually had what my doula called an efficient labor. I think it was about 6 to 7 hours long, not
Oh,
the
that's very
active,
good,
but
especially for
yeah.
your first labor.
Right. Although she was, I think, sunny side up, so her face was facing my back. So I
Ouch.
back
So you had
labored.
back labor? Oh,
Oh my gosh, it was like somebody taking a baseball bat to your lower back for just hours.
only there was a decent chiropractor in the room.
Right, exactly. That would have been really nice to have somebody
Uh,
come home and say, let's change this.
well, at
Um,
least luckily with that it was fairly short.
yes, yeah. And she was born around 6:30 in the morning, and my 4-year-old was also somehow awakened on her own at that time and was able to be there to see her sister being
Oh,
born. So that
so
was really
sweet.
special.
Okay, what was
Yeah.
that moment when the baby came through you for the first time? What was that like for you?
It's an out-of-body experience. It's visceral, it's primal, it's like just the wildest thing that you can imagine. And I think right before that happened, and what do they call it? The ring of fire or something, when you are like, I can't do this anymore, I'm done, I gotta go. When my doula and
I
midwife said they
gotta
looked at
go.
each other, I
I'm out
gotta
of
go
here. You
somewhere.
guys have a good time without me.
Wrap this up. I gotta go. And so they said like they knew when I sort of fell to my knees and almost like a surrender that that was the moment that baby was gonna come. And so, funny thing, I also remember thinking, wow, this is so hard. I'm gonna have chocolate cake when I'm done.
Oh,
I
I
don't know
say that
why.
when I'm on the treadmill, oddly.
And it wasn't
Yeah,
just a slice, it was the entire,
the
I
whole
want an
cake.
entire chocolate cake after I have this baby.
I might be Indian. I don't know. I feel like we are siblings.
Oh my gosh. That's what I thought about during labor, but it was a wild experience, but I would do it again.
Postpartum. How is your postpartum support both times?
Postpartum with my second daughter, and both times I had my mom visit, which is very common culturally. So she came through 4 to 6 months. My husband had some paternity leave, which I know is also a privilege here. Because I had learned so much between the two girls' births, being in this business, right? Like I had learned from chiropractors and pelvic floor therapists and sleep consultants. Like I just felt much more equipped than like just random Googling in the middle of the night. And that's why I recommend to all my families have a postpartum plan because the birth is incredibly important and critical, yes, but it's the wedding day and then you have the first year of marriage, and that's your first year of postpartum. And then culturally, we also believe the first 40 days can impact the first 40 years. And so
Wow,
everything
when
my
you
mom
put it
said,
like that.
right, is critical. But our families here do not, society doesn't honor them after they have a baby. And then they have self-imposed this like, no, only baby matters. And so things like belly binding, which is a beautiful Eastern practice as well, they're not doing because they don't have time, or baby massage, they don't see the value of it. So there's a lot of education and like culturalization we need to do because we have these amazing practices from around the world that could help our families avoid all the things that we see from postpartum depression, anxiety to, even gas colic, pelvic floor issues. Like we have tools to prevent those, but it's like, how do you match that? And so for me, and both of my breastfeeding experiences were also different with my first, both of them were challenging, but my second had a tongue tie. And we worked with the lactation consultant, and ENT did the release, and she still never latched. So I exclusively pumped for 7 months,
Wow.
which was
Each one get my wife always says each child brought a special little gift for
oh, really, yes, that's a beautiful way to say it. Special little gift.
her.
You can have
You
the
had
home
that
birth you
too.
wanted, but I'm gonna never latch, even though it's COVID and you're here all day to feed me.
Oh,
No, I'm gonna
right.
make you pump.
And that's like what a warrior you are because
Oh my
that's
gosh.
double work. You got to pump and then feed, pump and feed.
I know. I was so angry. I'm still angry at her today.
An angry warrior.
Right, exactly.
All right. Everything you just said about postpartum rings so true. And it's almost like, I did it. I had the baby. However, you did it. You did it. I grew this baby. I got through the 9 months. I got the baby out of my body, brought the baby into the world. And it's just like, I picture that moment. It's like, hey, what do you want to do now? I want to go to Disneyland. No. And now it's like, start the hard work starts
Start the
now.
hard work. Yeah.
And there is not a whole lot of focus or care on the mom in general.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I noticed this even more so. You had both experiences, but after a C-section, like not only did you just do all that, but you had fairly intense abdominal surgery. Yes, we have it down to a science. Yes, it's pretty reliable and predictable, but it's
Hmm.
still a lot on your system and
Major.
there's a lot
Yeah.
to heal from. And we're just sort of like, here, go home and, oh, here's a couple of guidelines. You got this,
Yeah.
and
See you in six
hopefully
weeks.
yeah, it's 6 weeks. It's like, oh, okay, really? All right. Anyway, you do incredible work postpartum, and I want to learn more about it. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll learn about the work that you do and the resources that are available to anybody, anywhere. Welcome back. I'm learning so much from Khyati Desai-Seltzer. Okay, so you had these two babies, two very different experiences, both with birth and postpartum. I really want to get into the work that you do, the powerful postpartum work that you do. What's your biggest takeaway from your own experiences on postpartum? Like, how could we make it better for other people?
So many ways. I mean, we need whole system change, but we know that will take time. And if you are expecting mama right now and you want to know what can I do, there is a whole lot. The first thing that you should know is that it's not just important for you to eat well and have some movement, which are super important, but your mental and emotional state are just as critical. If you're familiar with the field of epigenetics, what you are experiencing, everything. So, what you see, what you taste, what you hear, what you feel, all of those your baby is experiencing as well. And there's a purpose, an evolutionary purpose. They want to be ready for the world they're going to be brought into. But if you are stressed and anxious and sad and angry, which are going to happen, those emotions will come up. all of that is going to be fed into baby, and baby's going to think, okay, I need to be anxious because mom is anxious, which means the world I'm being born into creates anxiety. Now, we can't completely avoid stress, we know that, but if we can be mindful of how much we take in and what we do when we are stressed. So, with my second child, with my first child, I didn't know about this, even though culturally they told me. And I wasn't as mindful of my emotions with my first baby. Her toddler tantrums were out of control. And somebody had told me about the connection to the in utero experience. And then I read an article about how they're connecting toddler tantrums to mom's in utero experience,
Mm.
which just blew my mind. Again, everything is our fault, but I was like, wow, like 3 years later, 2 years later, this is what's manifesting. Because if you think about us in terms of energy, right, whatever stress I had, it went to my baby. It had nowhere to go. And so that came out at some point. With my second child, because I knew this and was more mindful of this thing called conscious pregnancy, I was stressed because, frankly, it was COVID, deep COVID. My father-in-law was sick and dying.
Oh
My
no.
mother-in-law's husband was sick and dying. Financial things, obviously, because businesses had to close due to COVID. So we had enough stress. And I was taking care of a 4-year-old being pregnant, and that 4-year-old was going to virtual pre-K, which is I don't even know how it's a thing, but
Oh my
I had
goodness.
plenty of stressors, right? But I just became more conscious of like, okay, this is my problem. This is not my baby's problem, and I will work through it. So, mommy was stressed today, but I'm going to take a walk, or I'm gonna, it's okay. I'm gonna, read a little. I'm gonna meditate, so that even if that stress was there for a moment, then I'm telling her she's okay, she is safe. We're gonna figure this out. And all of that, they've said that the taste the amniotic fluid changes when mom is stressed. They're finding like, deep stressful hormones in the umbilical cord. Like it is a thing. It's just not talked about as much by our mainstream providers. And so my advice would be if you're expecting, manage your emotional mental stress. If you can surround yourself with people who will care for you and love on you and take care of you, like expect that and demand that of them because they really are affecting how this baby will be born and your postpartum experience.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And I think also there was a time where there was so much more support built in to the pregnancy, to the birth, to the postpartum experience. And we don't have it as much anymore. Now it's sort of more professional people that we hire, but they're not around us the same way and they're not attached the same way. And
No,
so we're sort of floating on our own a bit more, and that makes it a little harder to manage things like stress and some of the other emotions that come along with anything that comes up in life, but also during pregnancy and maybe even heightened by the pregnancy. I would also say that it's not like you should necessarily freak out if you feel stressed.
you're right. It's okay.
It's just a normal part of life. Babies need to be exposed to normal part of life. It's like we
Yeah.
don't have to shush them for everything or medicate them for everything. They can feel life.
Yeah.
Not feeling anything is a flat line. That's not life at all. And there are studies that indicate actually some stress is very helpful for the
That's
growth of
good.
the baby, just like when you stress your bones and they grow better. It's just managed stress, not to let things go festering for too long or unsupported. Really glad you brought that up. Let's dig into the work that you do. What
Okay.
do people come to you for?
Most commonly, the three issues we see in the first year, of course, sleep, right? The holy grail. We know that we are going to be sleep deprived and then we are in it and it feels like torture. And to be honest, I know there's a lot of debate around to sleep coach and sleep trainer or not. And obviously, there are pros and cons to each of those. But I think the crux of the issue is, again, we're blaming families, but it's the fact that they're raising a baby on their own without mom, grandma, aunt there. And so if those support systems were there, which they have been traditionally in many cultures, then it's okay if you have, mom waking up at night and somebody else is waking, taking care of them during the day. But when you have two people who are also working and doing chores and household and other kids to be sleep deprived for that long, like that's just unrealistic. And now you're affecting mom's mental health. And so I think sleep is definitely a big one, and massage can help because 15 minutes before bedtime, they release melatonin. So now they're sleeping deeper and longer. And we obviously, again, talked about the nervous system, releasing oxytocin. All of those are good for sleep. And then the second biggest issue we see is anything related to digestion. Most babies, some 60-70%, will have some version of gas, colic, reflux, and constipation. And I think these things we're seeing more widely based on our lifestyle, based on, what life is in America. Some countries are like, what is colic? Which is surprising to me. And colic is actually, they haven't found a known cause of it. But digestion and sleep are the two main things I see in the first year that people come to me for. And then the third thing that they don't necessarily know offhand, but it's really good for immunity, colds, congestion, things like that. But 1 month of massaging your baby regularly increases the white blood cells they're creating. So now they're better able to fight off infections. And there are so many other benefits of massage, but sleep and digestion are the first two. And that's what you're facing in that first year, what they come to me for.
How often do you recommend people massage their babies?
Every day, if possible, at least 10 minutes. And if you want to do more than 10 minutes a day, great. But if you can do 10 minutes, even if you're not even 7 days a week, it's 5 to 6 times a week, you will see the benefits. Just like eating healthy and exercising, you just don't want it to be something you do once a week or once a month. You want it to be a regular, consistent habit.
And it's interesting. I think you alluded to this earlier, but when you do it, the benefits are not just for the baby,
Correct.
right? The person doing, the parent, especially doing the massage, is also getting all sorts of benefit.
That's right. So they found and they've studied grandparents massaging their grandbabies, and then they had the grandparents receive their own massage. And they found that they actually released more oxytocin when they're massaging their grandkids than rather when they're receiving massage. And so there's this wonderful benefit, this mutually beneficial practice. Last year, when they came out with the postpartum depression pill, was around the same time another study came out and found that massaging your baby is just as effective without any of the side effects. Now, obviously, if you have a predisposition to mental health or it's very severe, right? Like that's a different story. But for most of us who have some level of anxiety, baby blues, depression, you can address that with some of the tools we mentioned, from baby massage to belly binding, which are both shown to really help mama's mental health.
What are some of the misconceptions that people have about infant massage?
Oh, I love that question. Yes. I think the biggest thing that really is just sometimes so frustrating for me is that it's sort of a nice thing to do. And maybe I was guilty of that too before I took the course and learned about the science and the nuances. But we see in the West, we see massage as something you treat yourself to. When it's your birthday, it's Mother's Day, I'm going to get a massage, as opposed to in the East, where it's like, maybe they're getting it weekly, a couple of times a week. They have back pain or headaches, or they have a cold and they're getting massaged. And like I said, all babies in India, regardless of their socioeconomic background, get massage. So it's not just babies who are privileged, even babies who are living in slums. The mama or the aunt or the grandmother is massaging them. So why would people who are poor massage their babies, right? Because it is part of their health. And so one of the biggest misconceptions I come across in America is that, one, it is a nice to have, it's not necessary and critical. And then the second is that it can't help the things that we are talking about today. Like people, it's America, so we want to go for the pill or the medication, the quick fix. And it's not that massage doesn't help right away, like I, mentioned in my story, but there's this thinking that the holistic practices take longer. And, you're struggling in postpartum. I get it. You want a solution yesterday. But people are quick to discount all of these techniques and go for, let me see the doctor and get the kid on antacid or a Pepsid. And I learned the hard way that my daughter was prescribed that at age 1. When my second daughter had reflux, they said, okay, she's got silent reflux, which, of course I didn't know. And so I said, okay, are you going to prescribe Zantac? And they said, oh, no, no, we found that that causes cancer. They don't prescribe that anymore. So I was
Oh,
livid
wow.
giving that to my daughter for 6 months every single day.
Hmm.
And so this time I declined and said, I'm going to do what I do. And I did massage and I did homeopathy. And overnight, we resolved her reflux. Overnight, we
Wow.
dealt with teething and all these things without medication.
And not only does it sometimes work as quickly,
Yeah.
like your double diaper story, but
Yeah.
oftentimes the holistic, even when it takes a little bit longer to work, it lasts a lot longer because
It
you're
lasts
sort of
longer.
getting to the source of the issue rather than
Exactly.
symptom.
That's right.
All right. So, what are the things you're local and the DC area? So, what
Uh-huh.
are the things that you do there and the offerings that you have? And what are the things that the rest of us who are not so fortunate to be right around you, what's available to us?
So in the DMV, I provide in-person individual and group classes. And I do that both for infant massage. So it's a 3 to 4 week series where we cover the entire body and all the issues we talked about. And then I also do belly binding, which is a Malay practice where mama is bind. In those cultures, somebody comes to the home, just like in India, and they bathe you and they feed you and they do steaming for you and they bind you every day for 40 days. And so if you think about it, if you were cared for in that way by other loving women, how would you show up as a mother? How would you show up as a wife or as a daughter? Because you were cared for so intimately and beautifully, then you're now able to care for other people. So that is what I'm able to provide in person, which I love. And to note, like, I love babies. I love to be around babies and toddlers. I would love to massage them all myself, but I don't. I actually teach on a baby doll to not interfere with the bonding process and so that the parents feel empowered. Like, when she is done, I know exactly how to help my baby if they're teething or if their immunity needs some support or they're gassy or colicky. So I don't actually do the massage. And then for my families that are not local, I have 2 courses, a holistic baby massage course, again, which is the whole body. And then I have a mini course on just gas colic if you're like, I need to get to this right away. I need help now. And both of those are available on demand per a lifetime so that if you miss a stroke, you have another child. And the other thing to know, we won't have time to talk about this, I know, but we really recommend that you massage baby past infancy into toddlers and pre-Ks and school-age children because touch is the first sense that develops in utero. It's the last sense that leaves our bodies, and it's the only sense we can't live without. But in America, it is woefully neglected. And so they found where there's less touch, there's more violence and aggression. And unfortunately, we see that in our communities every day. So America is considered touch deprived. We are hungry for loving touch. We've just gone from, the opposite of predatory touch is not no touch. It's loving touch, right? So even if you say your baby doesn't like touch, or maybe baby had a negative experience, we want to get them used to loving touch and not sentenced to a lifetime of no touch. And so as our kids get older, they're going to be seeking this out because touch makes us feel safe. It regulates our nervous system, all the things we talked about. And so when we don't get that at home, subconsciously we seek that out in relationships. So we're looking at tweens and teens who are now looking for relationships where they can cuddle and they can hug, the things that we need as humans. But when we have parents modeling and demonstrating that every day or a few times a week, it really changes the relationship and how they show up in the world, their sense of confidence, because we need to tell our kids we love them, but even more so, we need them to feel that we love them with our touch. And so whatever you learn with your infant can be used with your toddlers and your preschoolers. It's the same strokes. You're just not going to have a cute diapered baby on the floor. You'll have your teen
Hopefully.
coming home from football or your daughter, after soccer practice and they need a foot massage or a shoulder massage. And then even for men to demonstrate that in a country where men aren't encouraged to show touch in a loving way outside of a football field or a basketball court really changes how kids see, like, this is what a healthy relationship looks like.
Khyati, thank you so much for sharing and for your passion. It comes through in every word that you say. And, I know that a lot of people sort of instinctively, massage their kids,
Yeah.
massage their babies. But being able to draw from your formal teachings just gives us so much more that we can work with. And I'm looking forward to watching your videos. My kids, my youngest is 15 at this point. So
It's never too late.
yeah, I'll tell them when I get home tonight.
Yeah.
Where can we find you and your offerings online?
Yeah, so you can find me at vianainfantmassage.com. That's VYANA infantmassage.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, as well as YouTube. So you can find some videos and other resources on those outlets.
Beautiful. Thank you again. And at home, thanks for listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends. Leave us a review in your podcast app. And for more pregnancy and parenting media just like this, visit us online at informedpregnancy.com.
Doctor, doctor, give me the news. I got a whole